Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Super excited to be with you here on another Sunday. Oh, first time we did the live stream in a bit because we had 1 week was Mother's Day, and then the next week was the event that Millennial Mike Zuber, and Dion and I did together. So it's good to be back with you guys. Lots going on in markets for sure. I think it's, we're starting to see a lot more of, I think, people catching on that there's not going to be this massive crash in affordable houses. If only we'd known that was coming. Ironic. But yeah, I continue to talk to brokers. They continue to show me the numbers, talking to banks and deals still being done. Now, I'm not saying that office space isn't in trouble. If you have 3 brain cells, you could have figured that out 3 years ago when what happened and everybody started pushing people to home and hybrid work environments. Some went back to it, some didn't. Some the model works for them, some it doesn't. Some it's a hybrid approach. And so at the end of the day, if you can alternate your employees, these 3 on this week and these 2 on this week, and then next week it swaps the other way, guess what? You need half as much space. So then the idea of taking all of these office buildings and converting them to homes. Yeah, good luck with that. So is it possible? Of course, anything's possible. Is it cost effective? No. It is not cost effective. It gets very expensive. And then guess what? It's then no longer affordable. So the issue remains affordable housing. And that ain't changing. It's not. Rates are still very sticky. They've remained sticky, as I said they would, as Mike said they would, as we've talked through that. So rates remain sticky. And prices remain even stickier because some people miss the concept of supply and demand. And there is far more demand than there is supply. Because again, if you're a real estate person or just smart, you could put together the fact that, yeah, I looked at it and I'm not going to go for a house that's 25% bigger that's going to cost me 200% more. Debt at 2.5 or 2.75. And now debt's in the high 5s if you're lucky and you get buy down, 6s for most, 7s for some. Certainly for investors, it's high 6s or in the 7s. So it's basically exactly what I told you we were going to get. I told you that office would be and large multifamily would be starting to feel the pain. Absolutely, office is getting killed. There's some areas where office is down 45%. Yeah, it's getting killed because of debt structure. Now, the reason that we love the assets that we're in is because I have 30-year fixed rate debt on about 85% of my portfolio. That's important because that 30-year fixed rate debt that I have on 85% of my portfolio isn't going to go up. The only part of it that goes up is insurance gets a little bit more expensive, not like Florida. And taxes get a little bit more expensive every year, unless you're in, California Prop 13, but we all see how well that's going for everything that is California. So I think the challenge remains is that people are lunkheads and they continue to insist that affordable housing can still be a thing. It's not going to be a thing because it's an inventory issue. And to create more inventory, it's expensive. It's expensive. In our area, you can buy we'll call them used homes, 30, 40 years old, 2,000 square foot homes. You can buy that house for $650,000. You try and buy that same house brand new and it's $800,000 to $850,000. It's a $200,000 premium. Your other option is you don't go for a 2,000 square foot house, you go for a 1,400 square foot house, but brand new. And yeah, you guessed it, you're still around 6 to 650, which means your payments are about the same, but they're not, because your property taxes are significantly higher because it's a much newer assessed asset as opposed to a older assessed and adjusted up asset. So I actually heard from a tenant yesterday. I was having an exchange with them and they said, I'd like to move out of this place. I'd like something nicer. Okay. You'd like something nicer. This is somebody that is on housing. This is somebody that no longer meets our current qualifications. It's fair to say. And so my option is kick her out. I'm not going to do that. I don't make people homeless. They make themselves homeless when they don't pay the rent or when they damage things. You make yourself homeless. I just notify you of such. But when it comes to those, the unmitigated gall, we'll call it, for someone to say, I want something nicer. Her rent is 100% covered. Her credit is, quite frankly, toilet water is better than her credit. And she asks for one. And so I said, have you been in contact with housing this month? She said, no. I said, okay. Are you aware that they just received back 15% of their vouchers? 15% they received back. Why, Matt? Why they received 15% back? Because those people got the maximum number of extensions and couldn't find a place. 3 of the top 10 largest landlords that used to do housing in Section 8 in my area, poof, gone. They don't do it anymore. Or they don't do it in certain buildings because the numbers just flat out don't work. And so at the end of the day, I see a ton of people with a housing voucher that are trying to get a nicer place. And frankly speaking, 80% of the respondents to my ads are those housing vouchers. And at the end of the day, they literally will convince you, yes, I want this place. And it doesn't meet the standard, the financial standard. They're just like, well, can you just go down and rent? Seriously? Like, how about some simple economics lessons? How about just generally understanding how the world works? So I think just as landlords, I think we always talk about the business side, but we talk about the other side too, which is the human side. But when does that tenant have to acting human? They don't pay rent. They don't pay any of their utilities. They live in a pretty nice place. If she ever doesn't become a tenant, I'll post pictures because I think that a lot of people would know who she is based on the place. And it's unbelievable to me. And I talk to housing people that even say the attitude, I've coined it the attitude of entitlement. It's unbelievable. And so when we talked last week about property wars and we talked about houses and selling and all the ideas for creating affordable housing, I've got news for you. They don't really exist. They don't really exist because it's not just the cost of the materials in the house. In my town, I have to spend $15,000 on an impact fee. I have to spend $9,000 on a sewer water hookup fee. I've likely spent, if I'm going to develop a piece of land, I've likely spent $10,000 on a survey. I've likely spent another $5,000 to $7,000 on architectural drawings. So when it's all said and done, before I move one spoonful of dirt, before we've even counted for what I paid for the piece of land, I've spent $40,000. And because of strict zoning laws, especially in the Northeast, because it is, yes, largely not really overpopulated, but they want bed and breakfast communities remaining bed and breakfast communities. They want them staying small and cute and quaint. The cute little New England town. And therefore you need 2 acres of land to build something. Well, guess what? You can't build a 1,400 or 1,200 square foot starter home when those are all the costs, because that goes into the price per square foot of what the overall ending sales price is. So what I would tell you is as this market develops, as you start to see, it's the have-nots are going to get louder. They are going to get more aggressive. But at the end of the day, it's supply and demand. It's very simple. And if I average between 100 and 200 inquiries in the first 72 hours that one of my units hits. 80% of those are Section 8 or housing. Now, we don't discount those. I'm just making sure you know what the mix is. And we look at, but very often it's, is this available, right? How many people love that question? If it's up, it's available. And we ask them to send us 3 things as a pre-qualification to get them in the door so they can attend the open house. That's how we stagger. That's how we set up our stuff. The number of people that don't send that back is staggering. And they're like, well, I still want to see the open house. No, you need to qualify. And if you don't qualify, you can't come. So I think that as you continue to run your business, your rental business, what's going to be really important is that you stick to a set of rules that works for the area. Some areas have naturally lower FICO scores. Fine. Some have naturally higher income or lower income. You need to pick a criteria for your area and start to see how that fits. And then as you analyze the different given tenants, so we posted something, we actually talked to housing. This is from my good buddy Dion. He says, I don't have to pick a housing tenant. He goes, I call housing and tell them I have a unit coming available. And what do you know? A housing tenant ends up with it. Here's what's crazy. We did that with a unit. The person said, yeah, I just don't love the neighborhood. Oh, my apologies. I just don't love the neighborhood. What is more lunacy on top of that is that they didn't love the neighborhood. Fine. Doesn't hurt my feelings. I buy in A, B, C class neighborhoods, and I have A, B, C class product in those neighborhoods. And they didn't like the neighborhood. They wasted 2 weeks of my time sending them pictures, giving them paperwork, having them go through a process, dragging their feet, no real urgency. And then guess what I found out? They actually need to have a place by June 15th. Again, unmitigated gall. Unbelievable. So I'm not rooting for them to be hopeless or homeless, but fools, absolute fools. If you're not taking care of looking at something like that and understanding, this is one of the things that we do constantly in the course. We want to make sure that you're skilling up, that you're getting elite, that you're learning new lessons, that you're learning things on my dime, sort of. You know, you've paid to get my playbook and what we've done for 20 years and how we've set up systems to avoid the major mistakes that we made early on in the process. And I always welcome questions on that stuff because I want you to also know the why. I explain all that stuff in the course. I don't just tell you this is what it is. I say, hey, this is why we do it the way that we do it. But I got to tell you, it continues to get more and more disheartening with people's expectations being as outlandish as they are, because I'm a great landlord. I want to curate a great experience, but I'm not going to discount it for you. I'm not going to hold it for you for 2 weeks. So the reason for this rant is recognize that that's a bite at you, right? It's the death by 1,000 cuts. Eventually you just get immune to hearing it because you're just tired of the same old noise. Make sure that you have a process in place. Don't get emotional about your business process, which is, here's my criteria. Don't hit it. Nope. Don't hit it. Nope. But please, nope. Nope. I have my criteria because it's based on results and based on past results, right? I'm looking at it and I say, all the people that I evicted fit into this bucket. But will you please make an exception for me? No, I can't. It's not the right thing to do, number one. And number two is, even if I did, I'm setting myself up for failure. Because I've already been proven on those items that generally this is how people work and operate. Now, can you get an exception? Of course you can. Dion has the only Section 8 tenant in the world that has an 800 credit score. I'm firmly convinced of that. The only one in the world. I believe that to be true. I have never seen a credit score of a Section 8 renter, housing renter, above 716. And even that is super rare. It just doesn't happen. Not in my area, apparently. But that's what you need to learn and understand. However, what I have found, if you've got above a 680, you're probably going to be a pretty good tenant. You're probably going to be a pretty good tenant. The exceptions that we made for the emergency rental assistance program, because that was a specific program that called and asked us for help and said, this is how we'll set it up and this is how we can do it. And we basically set that up for them and said, this is the criteria that you guys have requested, and this is how we'll operate because it's a short-term program. Yep. Bit me in the butt big time. Big time. And I'm going to release that video with all the numbers in there, and I share every single number on every unit. And I want you guys to see exactly how good of a financial decision that was for me. But anyway, I digress. So again, pick your criteria, work on your criteria as you see things changing. In your area, a 650 credit score might be good enough. It might be. 2.5 or 2 3/4 times rent might be good enough. But that's what I would encourage you to do. Select appropriate criteria, manage to that. And then it's not you making a decision. It's you following the practice that you have in place. And that should absolutely make your life and job easier, because I have a tough time saying no to people too. Please, just please reconsider. Can't. This is what we do. This is consistent. So hopefully that helps you guys out and gives you guys some wisdom, and saves you from making a mistake, because heaven knows I made plenty of mistakes. JNYC, appreciate you. You are digging in. You are going to win. Keep on learning. Watch as much content as you can, especially of the 4 REI Avengers. Dion, hey buddy, meowdy. I'm looking for the audio only version. I thought that's what you were switching to from now on. I don't do audio only versions. We are on Spotify and we are on Apple Podcasts. We're on both. We are available on both. Nope, not an emergency. Let's see. Every time you hit the like button, Angel gets its wings. That's true, Dion. I can confirm. Thank you, sir. The wealth building journey. Still love the new name, Chester. Chester has been around since I launched my channel. Smart guy. Really like him. Always has good comments. Let's see. Hyder. Hey, what's up, Hyder? Good morning. Scott, I think the podcast option, is for after the live is over. Yes. Yep. That's when you can check the box, putting into a playlist. Hopefully it gets better. Yes, that is true. Landlord Odyssey. Hey, Matt. Hey, everyone. Missed you all. Landlord Odyssey. I'm excited to see you in boot camp this afternoon. I'm hoping for amazing news from you. Nick Ragland Johnson. Good morning. Matt Bittner. Retrofit costs is enormous. Yeah, for office space to go residential. It is, Matt. It is redonkulous. I mean, people have no freaking clue. No clue. Look at an office building. You have lots of bathrooms in each of those buildings. You guys going to do communal bathrooms? and then bring piping to all that stuff. Guys, it is plumbing in a commercial job is about $2,000 a fixture, 2,000 to 2,500 a fixture. That means vanity, 2,500, toilet, 2,500, shower, 2,500, kitchen sink, 2,500. And that's if you only have those four. That's $10,000 just on piping for just four things in the unit. Then times that by whatever number of units you're going to try and cookie cutter the thing into. But again, communal, bathrooms. Like that's what office buildings aren't set up with en suites. People have no idea the cost. It's unbelievable. Laura Samaniego, good morning. Good morning. Impact fee sounds impactful. Only to my wallet. It hurts. We don't do development because of all of the fees. The guys that make that work, listen, you can start off being a landlord and buying a duplex and living in it and house hacking it. And even if you bought the worst, biggest piece of crap and it ends up being a total nightmare, you're likely not going to lose it to foreclosure. If you start to try and build, holy cow, that is a whole different ball of wax. Buying land and getting it approved and architectural plans and surveys and town zoning and zoning board meetings. And oh my word, guys, you have I've been down that path. I explored it. And I was just like, the only way that I can do this is if I go big. It's the only way it's worth the headache. It's the same thing with buying a portfolio in Maine. I like Maine as a state. I hate it as a state for landlords. But if a inexpensive portfolio came about, I would do it. I get good deals in Maine all the time that I pass off to other people because I don't want to do them, because I don't want onesie twosies, and I don't want to build a portfolio over a 10-year period of time because all the state laws are different. All the, how I would have to file taxes and everything else. They have state tax. We don't. So make sure the juice is worth the squeeze, really understand what you're stepping into. And again, house hacking a duplex, it's pretty straightforward. You need a place to live, and likely it's going to cost you, a lot less to live in that. And even after you average in repairs over a 5-year period, you're probably paying a fraction of what you'd be paying for rent. And more importantly, you own the asset. Dividend Dave, we can start now, Dave. I just don't love my taxes paying the rent. Yeah, JNYC, I get it, man. I get it. I think, man, sorry if you're a girl or a lady. But that's exactly the issue, guys. It's exactly the issue. It's amazing to me that somebody that is having their entire monthly nut paid for them, rent, heat, hot water, electricity, and they'd like something nicer. Oh, my apologies. I said, you can get something nicer. Get a job, make some money, figure it out. You can get something nicer than an apartment because you'll be able to pay more money than what I charge housing for a nicer apartment, because they literally went through and they were like, here's the 7 things I'd like to see done in the apartment. None of them were life safety, and none of them were even like reasonable. It was like, I found a chip in the counters and I want the counters replaced. No. And I had to write them back. And I said, that's like $18,000 worth of work. And if I spend that $18,000, guess what? It's going to market. I'm trying to do affordable housing. There has to be a responsibility of finances on my part. Otherwise, my bank, who's basically my partner in almost all my deals, says to me, no more money. You're not doing good things with the money that we're lending you. People don't understand that. They haven't been part of that process. John Williams. Good morning, Lumberjack. Good morning, sir. What's crazy is when you post your criteria publicly and you still get people that pay Zillow $40 to apply for a unit. No kidding, right? Read the damn ad. Oh, that's a sore subject for me right now, John Williams. Read the ad. We responded back, hey, we need this criteria. I'd like to see the property. We need this criteria. When is the open house? For you, never. For you, never. You're not a good listener. Send me what I've told you need to send. And if you do, well, I don't think that's fair, dude. Stop. Do you think that there's a bunch of these units just sitting out there empty? That all these landlords are just living off of $0? You know, that the mortgage just gets automatically paid, the property taxes, the water bill, the payment for the new schools, the special assessments. Money's got to come in to go out. It's just that simple. It's just unbelievable, the lack of financial education in this country. And I'm a 9th grade dropout. That's the funny part. John, do they pay a one-time fee? Yep, for each individual listing, or they apply for it? Yeah, usually it's a one-time fee. Unless, oh yeah, I think you say it down here. Yep. Yeah, one time for like 60 days. Yeah, but I think I don't know that that's unlimited. I don't know. I think that might be on like the background, but I don't know if it's that way on the credit, because credit can be adversely affected in 60 days. But anyway, just for what it's worth. The wealth building journey, literally worth its weight in pure gold, 100%. Oh, Lumberjack Landlord course. Oh, thanks. Appreciate that, Chester. Yeah, I mean, it is. It just is. We have a bunch of people in the boot camp. We have, we cap it at 18 people. We have, 13 to 15 people every week that attend the boot camp. There's no doubt in my mind that those people are going to be successful. And they've taken what I've done and made it successful. And there's going to be tweaks to almost every little thing that I do. There's going to be tweaks that fit them personality-wise, their business better, their state law better. But it's the core. It's the core of what's there. It's the things that you need to be thinking of if you want to make this a thing for you, where you're not going to work the rest of your life. Don't just take my word for it, says Chester. I appreciate that. Ninja Vanish, good morning, sir. Just realized wealth building is Chester. Yes, it is. Been wondering where Chester had been for a month. See, just changed his name. Hey, there's Key. Good morning, sir. Wealth building, Dividend Dave. Yeah, I thought you knew. I'm kind of dumb. That's not true. John Williams, RTDA. Read the damn ad. I think that's what that means. Automagically. Yeah, people think this stuff. They think that it like happens automagically, and in a lot of cases, they've been proven that they're right. Fill out some paperwork 2 years later and you get free rent. Fill out some paperwork. You get free electric. Fill out some more paperwork. You get free electricity. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And the statistics are going to be out the end of this year. Last year's statistics were not very forgiving. Factually, I am 8 times more likely to be contacted by a housing tenant about an issue than I am about a non-housing tenant with an issue. 8 times more likely. And that's interesting because they're only about 20% of my portfolio. Think about that. Good morning, Michelle. Good to see you. Keith Hager, good morning to you as well. So what have you guys seen or encountered online this week that you, or even in your business? What have you seen that you guys think I could answer questions for you? Because I admittedly had a long week. I had a long week. Look at my face. I had a long week. Very excited for this weekend to kind of chill out and relax. Tomorrow, that is first on the agenda. But yeah, whatever you guys, I like to do these live streams because I like to answer your guys' questions, not just rant. But I think it's amazing. I share with you exactly my stories because I want you to know you're not alone. I can't believe I'm the only one with an entitled tenant that expects more for nothing. I can't imagine that I'm the only one in that camp. But yeah, have your criteria, manage that. More insane pricing on housing. Yeah, median minus continues to be pricey. It doesn't change. It doesn't change at all. Oh, one thing I wanted to make sure was people were aware of as well. In my course, I bring in experts, and these aren't experts like buying experts, right? Like, here's how I bought, here's what I did. Here's who I bring in. The people that I work with, the tradespeople, the trust attorneys, the eviction attorneys, my actual real estate agents, my rental agents, my property managers. I bring those people into the course because I want them to be able to speak freely to people, answer their questions. Because we actually make that we start up events. Because I think we're a little bit before we're doing another boot camp, but we start up events actually today. Today for the boot camp, just because I want to make sure that we're doing and have everything worked out. Live guest. We did a live guest 3 or 4 weeks ago. We're having another live guest today. It's actually my broker. And then we're going to actually open those up. We're going to open those up for the rest of the course. Where they're going to actually be able to attend those as well. No additional cost. It's part of the course. I want to give you guys access to people that I work with on a daily basis. I was happy that they were willing to do it. Let's see. I'm flexing my long distance landlording skills. Has to deal with a tree and a car issue. Oh dear God. I had that happen. This winter. What was really amazing was I didn't get one phone call. 3 cars were totaled by a tree crushing them. I didn't get one phone call. I had no idea that it happened. No clue. I literally had maintenance going around checking each building. I said, just stop off at each building, check it out, take a picture. Want to make sure everybody's safe, everybody's okay. Can't really do that. Send out a mass text message to 400 people. My phone will blow up all day long. So I said, just walk around each property, make sure everybody's safe. And they got to that property and they sent me 2 pictures. And I was like, holy cow, that is a bad day. And it totaled 3 cars. Unbelievable. Didn't hear a word. Meta laid off another 6,000 people. Yep. Yeah, more coming. What's really funny is I think that if you look at all of the tech people in the country that work for tech firms, I want to say it's about 8.5% of employment. Tech is 8.5%. So let's get nutty. Let's say 25% of all of tech gets laid off. We know it's not going to be that number, but let's just say it is. 25% of tech people get laid off. So you go from 8.5 million down to, 6.4, let's call it. So at 2.1, you add the 2.1 to where we're at currently. It's a bigger number, but is 25% in tech actually going to happen? Nah. And even if it did, yeah, it's going to be a, decent sized number, but it's not going to happen like that. That never does. But you're still single digits in unemployment. And it's going to be more focused. It's going to be Silicon Valley focused. It's going to be probably Austin, Texas focused. The big tech hubs, Chicago up to a certain degree. So yeah, that's amazing. John Williams, something I'm struggling with is changing my buying lens so that I'm looking not basically retail. Yep. I'd like to look at a BRRRR type strategy. Yep. I don't know if I'll refi it. Yep. Can you speak to that? Sure. And for those of you who know or care, that's just pure water. I'm not dangerous like Dion. I guess so. It changes a little bit because BRRRRs are overpriced if they're hitting the market right now, for the most part. They're overpriced because people that don't know what it's going to take to get them to a certain level, they don't know what they're doing. And so I've seen stuff that needs, I saw one last weekend, went under for 400 and change. When the thing is done, it's worth 750, maybe 750. It went under for just under 5, I think. It needs $200,000, $250,000 worth of work all day long. So when you're done, it's worth about it's worth about that. And the problem is that you can get a construction loan, and that's what I do almost all of my stuff. I don't do a true burr. I've done some burrs, but your better bet is buying a deal with a construction loan from a small local bank. Stop me if you've heard this before. And then you get the rate fixed right now in the upfront, so you don't have to refi. How that works is you basically buy the property. So let's say there's two numbers that you're looking for there. There's one called an as is. Let's say it's $400,000. And that's the way it sits. And you're going to need $100,000 for rehab. That's the as complete price. You take the $400,000, the as is. You take the $100,000. That's the work that needs to be done. That's an as complete. You're $500,000. And then the bank says, okay, we want you need to have 20% of that. So instead of buying it for 400 and getting to put 20% down on that, you can buy it for 500 and put 20% down on that. So it's an extra $20,000, but they will fund the construction loan, and you don't have a variable rate when it comes to construction. In fact, many banks will give you 6 to 12 months interest only on that deal. So I've done a ton of those deals. And so when everybody was freaking out, like, man, your burrs, what are you going to do with your burrs? Your construction loans. Well, what does that mean? It means I've already got a fixed rate debt. I'm at 475, 495, 525. I think it's my highest one. And the numbers worked at that. And even better is that it's based on what the as complete with the $100,000 with that budget for the $100,000. The crazy thing about it is that I bought properties so right that it wasn't worth 500 when it was done paying full boat retail. It was worth 6 or 650. I bought one for 402 that I'm putting 250 in. I'll have 650 into it. It's worth $1 million. It's worth $1 million done. Instant equity. Even better, I had to put down in this particular case, I think I had to put 25% down on the 650. So that deal cost me, $170,000 to close on. But that 170 comes off of the 650. So I really am going to have a mortgage on 480, and it's worth about $1 million. And my mortgage is at 4. I think that's the 495 one. Now that I think about it. So we'll call it 5. So my debt's at 5, but it's already done. I don't have to refigure it out of the backside of it. It's already done. The deal's already done. My rate's already in the deal. 5%. So what's that gonna, when you figure taxes, insurance, and all that other stuff, I think it's something like, what is it? I think it's going to be about probably a little with property taxes. It's going to be a little over 4,000 a month, I think. My rents will be 8. That's how I absolutely crush. I mean, I'll make, do I make 3? So it'll probably be 5 all in. Taxes, insurance, water, sewer. Yeah, I'm probably 5 all in, but I'm going to be 8. 7,500 to 8 on rents. That's pure net. And that's how you do something different than all these burr boneheads. Burr's an advanced strategy. Don't kid yourself. And I've seen plenty. I've actually seen 3 or 4 not finished properties up for sale now. The problem is the guy's so far deep into it, it's unrecoverable. He's going to have to borrow more hard money and likely have something bad happen on those deals that I've done. John, let me know if that helps. Landlord Odyssey, seller financing question. What are the required steps after getting an offer accepted? after the offer is accepted, really, it's only three things in my state. And three things in my state are I have a mortgage that I use that I had an attorney draft that I have them review. We have whatever deposit needed to go into the deal because usually there's some element of money that needs to go into an escrow account for a deposit. And then it is just, I think at that point, I think after the mortgage, because the mortgage has all the terms in it. I think the deposit piece, and then title search, just title search, making sure the title's clear, but you'll have that with any closing attorney or a closing company, depending on what your state has. But we use my same mortgage. They do the same title search. And the deposit goes into an escrow account, and you can close those in as fast as 10 or 14 days if you cover the deposit. I've even had a deal where it was a split and they took some of the debt, and I just said, can I have 35 days? Would that be okay with you guys? And they're like, sure. And they said, but why? I said, because I want to have the bank actually pay for it, so I don't have to refi out. I said, I just want the bank to pay for it. I said, it's not a contingency of the deal. I just want the bank to pay for it. And they said, yeah, we're fine with that. They said, we just want you to know, if you don't close in 35 days, we're going to take your money. Completely understand. And so we closed that way. It was really good. Let's see. So hopefully that helps you. Matt Bittner, do you know of very many property management companies that will manage Section 8 rentals? Very many. I know. Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know of any property management companies around me that won't take on a landlord just because they have Section 8 tenants. I haven't found a property management company like that. I do know a number of large landlords that won't do Section 8. They refuse. There was one that bought up a bunch of properties around here. I think they bought a couple hundred units. They were what I would call, I don't want to say they're bad landlords. They're business people. I don't like the approach. They basically gave 88 people or 80 something people notices. And they said, you have 60 days to vacate. Didn't love that. I want to provide affordable housing. I want to be part of the solution, not the problem. But you have to have criteria. Like, you have to also be trying to be part of the solution, not the problem. John Williams, exactly what I'm seeing. Yep. How on market for 160, ARV is 200. I'd rather just buy the 200. John, you're exactly right. But the 200 is listed at 250. Yeah. I mean, if that is the case, right, then that's why the buy box is important. But more importantly, guys, that's why the rent box is important. Because does 160, 200, or 250 matter if you have a 2% interest rate? Doesn't matter at all. It's truly yin and yang. It's truly both pieces. The price doesn't matter if the rate is low enough. Now, here's something really important. This is where a bunch of people that preach price period doesn't matter. That's kind of wrong. Because I've seen people overpay for assets by 20% because they got a lower rate. That's fine. They're not going to touch that rate, but they also can't refi out of that property. And if the market goes down, or even levels off, they're not going to have any equity in that deal for years and years and years and years. And I'm not saying that you buy deals for equity. All I'm saying is, if you get stuck, yes, you will make profit on the property, but if you get stuck and you need to create cash, you're not going to be able to do that because that asset's going to be over levered. And that's where, if you're in a constantly going up market, you're fine. But if you ever hit a plateau, or heaven forbid, a 5-year decline, 08, 09, 2010, 2011, 2012, nationally, housing went down 5 years in a row, a cumulative, I believe it was 28.7%. 5 years, it went down. And then in 2013, started to show a little bit of hope. It didn't go up a lot. It just went positive. And then it took a few years to get even positive. And rents even Rents really didn't go down, but they were kind of stagnant for about a half a decade. So that's why all these guys who build these into their models and say, oh, you don't understand. We're looking at 3 to 5% appreciation every single year for rents. And we're looking at 3 to 5% appreciation for the asset every year as well. Well, you do that over 40 years and you're correct, but you're going to have, when you just came off of a year where it was 20, is it going to appreciate 3? It might go 0, might even go negative. It's all possible. That is why for me, appreciation is not even part of my calculation. It's not a number I can control. So I want nothing to do with it. I don't want to be enamored by a bad deal just because I'm like, oh, that'll appreciate. It's got a cash flow. Got a cash flow day one. Hider, John, you act like you're entitled to not work for free. I know, right, John? The wealth building journey. I'm seeing tons of vanity price drops on BRRRRs because they have to sell. That's right. Their holding costs are skinning them alive. So if you guys know anything about the car business is the same exact way. They do something called floor planning. So when they floor plan, usually you'll see a dealership and they'll have a floor plan for 6 months on 100 models, 100 trucks, let's say. And the faster they sell them, the more money they make on them because they didn't have to pay for 6 months or didn't have to pay for the full 6 months. They had to pay every month, but they didn't pay for 6. But that's why when you start to find cars sitting on lots for 3 months, for 4 months, for 5 months, guess what? They're floor planned. That dealership is paying every month for that truck to sit there. So a lot of times they eventually just hit we just got to dump this thing. We just got to get rid of it. Because they'll also get allocations of some of the horrible colors. One of my buddies used to buy the shit brown color every time. Ford F-150 shit brown. That was the truck he would always buy. He goes, because it was always available on the lot. It always had sat there for 120 or 160 or 200 days. And he would get the thing so ridiculously cheap. He's like, it's like I bought one that was, already had 2 years of the depreciation knocked off. He goes, I don't care if I'm driving something that's brown. He goes, it's metallic brown. It's kind of cool. I was like, it's not cool at all, but the money works and that's good enough. But that's how, so it's the same thing with BRRRRs. When you're paying off 8%, 9%, 10%, 12%, when you're paying those kind of deals, guess what? You need to get rid of that thing because another month of a monthly payment is going to crush you over time. Dion Talk Financial Freedom. What is your exit strategy from real estate? Oh, Dion, I have no idea. Hire more people so I do less. I don't know. I don't know that I have an exit strategy. We got to talk about that. I don't know what your exit strategy is. I think you already did it. Retired and fly the world. I don't know that it gets any better than that. Yeah, I don't really have an exit strategy. No exit strategy here. Not something, I think with my kids being the age that they are, so I'm mid 40s. My kids are really young. I'll be in my late 50s, early 60s, when they're in their 20s. We'll see if they have a penchant for doing it. That's what I'm kind of looking at. So we'll see. I don't know. Dion, always asking hard questions. Dion breaks my brain. Why asking a hard question like that? Very philosophical. John Williams, buy, rehab, rent, a keep, and a payoff. HELOC aggressively. Repeat. Kind of what's on my mind. It can be done. The only issue that you usually will have is that you're going to leave. So you will leave money behind in those deals. That's usually what happens. Usually what happens is, so I did that when I did my big refi. And I did like 9 properties where I refied them all at the same time. I did those types of buy deals and would get as much cash back out of them as I could on refi if it was something I refied. And then some of them you end up with a bad appraisal and you have to leave some money behind in the deal, which always would burn my ass, but the way it goes. I've also paid for a second appraisal. Yep. And I think if it's been less than if mortgage guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I believe that if you buy a house and you rehab it and you try and sell it in less than 6 months, that it actually has to have 2 appraisals. I think so. I think for FHA, I think that's a rule. I think that's a rule. Yeah. Hyder, Matt told me he's going to carry his whole portfolio to me. Oh, 100% finance and deferred payment for the first year. Great strategy. That is an amazing strategy. If we find anyone that's ever able to or wants to do that, I am there. I will sign on that line which is dotted. Probably not if it's in LA County though. Andy Borch. Hey Andy. I'm the Andy who asked you the question about the ADU and Zuber Sunday event. Yep, I called the permits division and they said they have no permits at all for this address in their system. Andy, thank you for getting back to me on that. I really appreciate it. So it would appear as though my advice for you was good advice. That's dangerous, right? That's dangerous. Right? So are you asked? So is the question, what's the next step? So there are 2 steps. 1, deal's dead. You don't touch it. 2 is you talk to an attorney. You talk to an attorney, you say, I need to meet with you for an hour. And I would look at the way to find the right attorney is you need to look at attorneys that are on the agenda. That's the right word. That they're on the agenda for the city and talking to them about development deals, because they will know the right things to say. They'll know the right things to not say. Code enforcement issues. You'll want to find, all you have to do is look at the minutes. You'll see the different attorneys listed that are going before the court and arguing. You can read everything that they say. You can also go to a town meeting and sit there and listen for a little bit. But talk to one of those guys, say, hey, this is a scenario. I'd love to sit down and just talk with you about it and see if this is something we could move forward on. Having that conversation, perfect. What do I recommend? This is what I'm recommending. Have that conversation with that attorney. And if he looks at it and says, it's been 40 years though, and that's something that they're not going to come back and do anything on, or they might be able to let you do an after the fact permit. In some cities, they fine you massive dollars for after the fact permits. In some cities, they're not horribly awful. I work in one city where a roofer didn't pull a permit, and the roof was $8,000. And what they did is instead of them letting me pull the permit, or so when their fine was that I had to double. So they take it and they go from 8 to 16, and I had to pay the permit price on the 16. That's how it worked. And I think that it doubled the cost of the permit, but I think it went from like $134 to $268. And I told him, I go, yeah, you're paying that. Because he didn't pull the permit. So that's a strategy, Andy. And I would talk to some attorneys about that, because it still could be a good deal. If it's not something they're going to pursue. It is weird because the tax records show the basement is 95% finished, and the permit guys have been ignoring my questions during the whole week. Well, the permit guys, code enforcement, they tend to ignore. Is ignore the right word? No, they tend to be so busy with open permits that it's really tough to just ask general questions. It's hard. I empathize with those guys. One of the cities that I do work in, they have a building inspector, a plumbing inspector, an electrical inspector, and a health safety inspector. So they have 4 different inspectors, but that's basically, for 4 unique jobs. And there were almost 800 permits last year out of that office. Think about that. 800. That's 16 a week. That's a lot. It's a lot. 16 permits a week. And that's one's being pulled. And so then when somebody calls in and asks a question that doesn't actually have a permit pulled, and they're just trying to get some particulars, I get it. You can I would keep on pursuing them. That's what I would do. I would keep on pursuing them for sure. Brian Beck, thanks for the super chat, my friend. We will see. Oh, Brian, did you send me an email back? Send me an email back. I responded to your email. You sent me an email back about that discussion or about that topic we were discussing. Andy Borch. Yeah, sounds like a lot. It is. It's a ton. And that's why for me, I actually offered to pay the inspector. And I was like, I'm not trying to bribe you. I'm just trying to get your opinion. I need you to come out and tell me what you see. He goes, I don't do that. That's not how this works. He goes, if you pull a permit, I'll go out there. And I was like, well, okay, I'll come down and I'll pull a permit, because you can't pull a permit unless you own the house. Come on. I need your opinion on this, because one way I can fix it and it's right and it's $5,000. The other way is still right, but it's $30,000 because you have some weird, goofy requirement that makes me overdo it when it really doesn't need to be overdone. Crazy. Dividend Dave, that's a good exit strategy, Terry. Yep. Oh, Terry, my exit plan. Sorry. Seller finance to another buyer, sit back and collect the checks. Yeah, I think, Terry, that's a great plan. I think, at my volume, I don't know that I would do that at my number of units, because that's pretty big. I'd probably want a significant amount of cash. Yeah, I would pay taxes on it, or I'd find some way to, structure it where at least the risk is mitigated. So, but yeah, yep. Good strategy. Wandering Doc, wealth building journey. I saw you haven't posted a video in 11 years. Time to start that channel up again. I agree. Wandering Doc, hello, sir. I sold that alligator property in Little Rock for $95K. Good. See, I told you to. I said get rid of the thing. If it's a pig, it's a pig. 2 months later, it's on the market for $139. They try in a quick flip. Sure. How much did they put in though? Right? Did they put in 20 grand? And here's the thing is, if they put in 15 or 20, right? Like on that 95, it costs them a few points to close. When they sell, it's going to cost them 6 or 7 points to close. So you take 6 or 7% of 139, so 140, 6%, $9,000, just shy, 8,400. Excuse me, guys. The only downside to owner financing is someone else gets the appreciation. It's true. But that's thinking that it always appreciates, and it doesn't. It just doesn't do just this. It really just doesn't. You see this and this, and you'll see movement. The market, the way that it's set up, is meant for boom bust. It's meant for boom bust. The question is how big is the boom? We saw it. How big is the bust? We're going to experience something, but I don't think it's going to be anything like 08. Now, if they keep on upping the number of float loans, arms that they're doing, yeah, guess what? It's going to kind of suck in a little bit. But that's 2-3 years out. So it's the can kick down the road. And that's only if then at that point, the economy is going strong at all, and that we haven't gotten to the, 2%. And that being said, if you guys don't watch Uneducated Economist, Simon, with the Cantillon effect, if you don't watch him, you're missing out. That guy is as dialed in on lumber as I am on housing, and he understands market dynamics brilliantly. And he breaks it down in a way that regular people like me can understand it. So huge plug for Simon, Uneducated Economist. He's absolutely fantastic. I love watching his stuff. And he puts out a ton of good content, and it's usually like 15 minutes long. So it's really like 12 to 15 minutes long. It's really good. So yeah, so he's absolutely fantastic. I would encourage you. John Williams heading out, everyone. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. You too, John. Let's see. Dividend Dave. I would want to transfer my properties to my kids when I become a robot. Makes sense. Oh, there's Phil Nealon. Thanks for the super chat, Phil. No reception in the boonies again, but we'll catch you all later. I was wondering what happened to you, Phil. I'm so glad you're good. I'm so glad you're okay. That's good.
Let's see. Exit strategy is when depreciation is complete. Yeah. House for sale. Yep. Buy a new one. Kids will have 3 options: self-manage, contract manage, and just sell out. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's exactly right. We, and that's kind of all the things, when we get to that point where we basically sell what we want to sell, or if we decide to give each one of our kids one of the assets so they then manage it, all of those options are on the table. They're all on the table. And I think that that's brilliant, Keith, that you're considering that. So I think, of my kids, some might self-manage, some will contract management, but they'll understand the asset. And whichever kid tries to sell out one of my properties that I gifted them, I just own them. It's just that's pretty simple. That's easy math. I'll even save this clip for them. Marcus Shearer, good to see you, financial firefighter from Hawaii. Let's see. Should I have a licensed electrician check if the installation is up to code before talking to the attorney? I mean, if you have that ready, so the attorney conversation is free. The attorney conversation, they'll do that as a consultation. Here's the way that I would work through this scenario. An electrician, I'm going to have to pay him probably, right, to show up, take a look at it, and then say, it's not to current code. We're going to have to change it, and this is what it is. And it's going to be this much money. The attorney is probably going to be free, and he can tell you if it's even worth pursuing or not, because it may be worth pursuing. It may not be worth pursuing. So that's kind of how my brain goes through it. But again, so for me, I could get an electrician to probably look at something for free. And so I would tell them that. I would say, hey, listen, I just need you to look at this and tell me if it's completely, FUBAR. And then he could probably go look at it, because I know that my attorney, when I call them, they're not going to take me as a consultation. They're going to charge me my hourly rate of, something insidious. I know they should make money too. Let's see. Wandering Duck. It's on the market for 22 days. I don't think they will get more than 120. They will lose money, I think. Yeah. I mean, they very well could, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if it's 120, 8 points off of that, 8,296. So they're at 110 and they had to pay something on the other side to get into it. So if they did nothing, they make 10 grand, but you and I both know they didn't do nothing. They had to do something, even if 5, 6, 7,000 bucks. And then is it worth the risk? Hell no. Hell no. But keep me posted. I'd love to know what ends up happening with it. Wealth building journey, wandering doc. I know. I have to content scheduling. Yes. To do. Yes. John Williams, heading out. Yes. Have a great holiday weekend. Dividend Dave. Beep, boop, boop. Thank you. And robot. Still learning the zeros and ones. Yes. Binary. I had a friend that he and his wife would send each other notes in binary. And I was like, yeah, it's too much. But go for it. I was like, the one good thing is most people don't know what you're saying. I said the only downside is that most people probably don't care what you're saying either. That's usually the way I see it. But all right. So we got kind of let's see. I think that covers everything that I wanted to cover with you guys today. We've got a very special boot camp in the course today. We've got my agent, broker to the stars, and me. He's been there for for 40% of my deals, maybe 40 or 50% of my deals, I think. And so I told him, I said, you can answer anything anybody asks. Feel free. Answer anything anybody asks. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, sure. So I might shout at him and say, don't answer that, but not likely. I don't think. But he'll be in the boot camp today. So super excited for that. Again, Dividend Dave, thank you for the super chat. Andy Borch, thanks for all the help, Matt. Really appreciate it. I'm happy to. Another question. Which items would you say are the responsibility of the landlord versus the tenant in terms of maintenance? So that's an opinion question. That's a great question, Andy. That's really an opinion question. And here's why I say that. Some landlords, I know Dion lets his tenants mow the lawn. I don't let my tenants mow the lawn because I want it done on a schedule. I want it done well. And if they pull a lawnmower over their foot, I don't want to get sued, because it's not just if someone can sue you, it's that they will sue you. And even to win, even if I'm right, even if I win, it still costs me thousands of dollars. And there are ambulance chasers like the goofball that came after me with one of our tenants. I shared in the boot camp, I actually shared the letter that was written. I shared that for you guys because I wanted you guys to see the types of letters that you'll get and how to react and respond to them. But that's not something I could ever share on YouTube. But I shared that, and gave them tips and pointers on how to react to such a thing. And so for me, it really comes down to, I think that a light bulb tenant, I think a leaky sink, if it's like the drain, if it's like the S pipe, or S's are old, catch basin or something like, I'd love to see them at least make some sort of an effort. Just make a little bit of effort. I don't let them, I make them. Dion, same difference, Dion. Same difference. Yes, Dion does make them. That's true. So I think, really, I think that's a constant thing for me, in all honesty. Like batteries in our electronic door locks. We do a great job of changing them every year. Every once in a while, someone misses one and it goes dead. And the smart tenants actually let us know. And I just say, yep, there's 4 AA batteries right there in the cabinet. Oh, they're not there anymore. Did you use them for something? Then you need to replace them. But if that's my cost, right? 4 AA batteries, which is, 50 cents. But yeah, like batteries and door locks, we never really have them go dead. We change them every time a tenant changes over. So in our like student stuff, but in our student stuff, you'll find that you've got 5 people coming and going on different schedules. So that thing gets used 5x as much. But yeah, I think in all the years we've done that, I think we've only had one where they didn't tell us that one of them was red on the second door. So the first door died. The second door started going red. The second door died, and then they couldn't get in. And they were like, I need you to get here right away. No. Nope. You go in the sin bin. You're going to have some time by yourself to think about what you've done. So Andy Borch, I don't want to dismiss your question, but in my course, I have all of that type of stuff. Here's the things that we have them do. Here's the things that we do. Here's a make ready list. It even says in my lease, if you don't report it in the first 5 days, it wasn't a thing. That way, if they stop paying rent in 60 or 90 days, they can't go, oh, well, you never fixed this. You never reported it. Wasn't in the first 5 days. You're now assuming responsibility for what you were taking over at that time. If they're too lazy to do that, then there you go. Let's see. So yeah, Andy, that's the 9 hours of stuff that I have in the course. And then I've got boot camp alone is going to be 23 hours of additional learning. I wasn't expecting to go 2 hours every Sunday, but we have. And so there's another 24 hours after I finish all the courses, another 24 hours of additional learning from the boot camps. So it's the 9 base course hours, and then it's another 24 on top of that. Yeah, I completed your course. That's why I thought of that question. Thanks for the answer. Well, good job, Andy. Isn't it in there? Or it's because I don't have it specifically set out? You can answer. Should Matt join the dark side? Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I thought, Andy, you took the course. Andy, was the course helpful to you? Was it valuable? Did it save you money? Did it make you money? All-nighter question. Do you have a stipulation in your rental agreement that states if you sue and lose, they also pay defense bills? Yes, I do. But Hyder, you know what it's going to be like to try and collect that money.
Dion, that might be you. You guys can see me okay. You guys just can't hear me. Or you guys can hear me. Can you see me too? It is, but I wanted to go more specific as possible. Yeah, Andy. So lights, electronic door locks, at least take a shot at everything first. But yeah, outside of that, I don't want them like breaking out their pink tool set that they bought at Home Depot or Walmart, breaking that thing out and starting to pry on things. So yeah, but that's AV is good there. Yeah, Dion, it's you. But Andy, that's great. It's great feedback. I'll add something more definitive. I think that's great feedback. Yep. Yes, it's valuable. So far, I can only say it's made me more confident to self-manage. Yep. I can't say anything else because this ADU place is my first deal. Yep. We'll become landlord in a few months. Andy, that's awesome. Yeah. I think the confidence to self-manage will save you over the course of doing this. I mean, it'll save you at least $1,000 to $1,500 that first year. The biggest thing that I heard from one person is they were using property managers and they've actually fired their property manager because they were getting overcharged. And that happens. You know, it was a remote property manager. So yeah, Andy, that's great. And I did, I haven't fixed it on my phone yet, but I fixed it on my laptop where I could see answers. And so I can answer you guys back on stuff. So I've got to get it fixed on my phone because that's kind of where I live my life. If that laptop's open, I'm usually doing my real job. Dividend Dave has tenants mow as well. Andy, do you have an example? Do you have a for instance? Do you have something that's a for instance? Here's what I don't do. Here's something I don't do. I don't put spigots on the outside of houses. Nope. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because if the tenant doesn't pay the water bill, let's say they left it on. Let's say one of the kids left it on. Let's say they were fanatical and they washed their car every week. You're stuck. You're stuck. You're stuck with that bill. And the city, the water department can put a lien on your house. And you have to pay it because they'll eventually shut your water off. And you could spend all the time you want trying to sue that other person. So the truth is, you can sue anybody for anything. That's the truth. You can, if you're in the right, obviously, you can win. Sometimes you lose when you're in the right, but you can be in the right and you can win, or you can. I don't think I've ever been in the wrong in one, but I've never lost. So yeah, what I would tell you is, to Hyder's question, yeah, I have that in my lease. You know how many times I've actually gotten money back? 0. Now, we're going back and we're going through the files because this last year was a particularly heavy one because of all the cap tenants. We're actually going through that process, or emergency rental ERAP tenants. We're going through them and we're going to go back after those tenants and they're going to pay damages and we're going to get a judgment against them. And if that's something that we have to sell, then we have to sell it. Fine. Sell it to debt. AV is good. Thank you. Mowing tenants. Yes, it is. But I want to go. Andy, can you give me an example? I'm glad that you're more confident. That's really, that means a lot. Ugh. I think to begin, I'm going to have to share the utility bills because I'll be house hacking. Okay. So this might turn out to be one of the, so my first mistakes were story in the future. So, on the utility side of things, you can do stuff called there's something called a flow meter. You can ask to put them in, or you can ask a plumber what they would charge to put them in. And I think they make electronic, but they also make mechanical ones. And basically it's basically if you have a line going to your unit and a line going to that other unit, if that's what you mean by house hacking. So the ADU essentially, if you have a line going to their unit and a line going to your unit, you can then meter that line and then basically bill them for that metered amount. You can do that. That's probably one of the optimized moves that we haven't done a lot of yet. We've done it in a couple places, but believe it or not, water use drops through the floor when you remove an exterior, an outdoor spigot. It's amazing. I would, Robert. Yeah, I've done it. Yep. Because two things happen with them. One, people are not conscientious with them. They just aren't. They're not conscientious. They'll leave them on. They'll leave them dripping. Worst of all is they won't shut them off on the inside of the house. And in the wintertime, it freezes, it pops and floods your basement. Happens. They have these anti-freeze ones. They're pretty good, but they're not perfect. And so if you look at almost all of my buildings, I can't recall. I might have 2 exterior spigots and they're on single family homes, but it's because those are the only 2 single family homes I own. And when I sell them, guess what? I know that people are going to want a spigot. Landlord RC, maybe have a spigot, but shut off from inside. Yep. Don't allow tenants access to the basement. So yeah, what they'll do is they'll find a way. They'll find a way. Yeah. Cause you can always add that. And like I said, the anti-burst ones that you can drill the hole through the wall and connect it to all that good stuff. You can do all that stuff. That's an easy add. But also looking to install an electric sub-meter to begin with. Okay. Yep. For the specific example, what if the fridge breaks, or what if they break blinds, or what if they break a window screen? And also looking to install for specific example. Got it. What if the fridge breaks? Yep. Or what if the break blinds? Yep. Or what if they break a window screen? So, great question. Window screen them if they break it. Blinds them, because they're using them. Fridge me. I do the appliance stuff. Yep. I do the appliance stuff. That's perfect, Andy. That's great. That's exactly what I needed. Yep. Perfect. Yeah. So screens them because they broke it. And they know where the frame is. Right. And that's something that honestly, they're not going to report that it's broken. They never will. You'll see it when you go through and you do your inspection report, thorough, like what we have, the move in, move out list. You'll see something like that on your move out, move in list, and you'll see, oh, there's 2 screens missing. You look around for the frames. You can ask the tenant, hey, do you know where the frames for the screens are? Oh, we never saw them. Nope. Sorry. That's not how that works. You never claimed that they weren't there, and I handed it to you with all the things intact as is. And then because you can get screens made for windows. It's about $100 a screen. When you get them made for the window, if you already have the frame, it's because it's time. When you already have the frame, easy. You can just go to the Home Depot or Lowe's, and you can buy the rescreening kit, put it in, lace it yourself, and make it nice and tight and put it in. We do that pretty often. Not pretty often, but often enough. But also looking to install. Okay. Yep. Okay. Thanks. It's all clear now. Awesome. Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Always happy to answer those questions. I'm glad that you're feeling more confident in yourself. Guys, Wandering Doc, are you still here? You've had quite a go with a number of property managers, right? And it's like, imagine if you could hand them a pamphlet and say, this is how I want my property managed, and then manage them to those expectations. That way you knew you were getting what you wanted. That's how I kind of view people that take my course and then use a property manager. I can tell you that I absolutely have seen thousands of dollars of bills from friends that have PMs that they shouldn't have gotten that bill. And it was because it was easier to go to the owner for it than it was to go to the tenant for it. That's why it was. And then when the tenant goes vacant, then they're like, oh, geez, my tenant's leaving. Why? Like, oh yeah, they just found another place or something like that. Or they're even a decent tenant. They move them into another unit. Like, there's some pretty shady property managers out there for sure. For sure, because you're paying them 6, 7, 8%. And a lot of times that's for nothing. That's for them answering the phone and then dispatching somebody that you're going to pay by the hour to have them fix something.
Should I also rip out the outdoor outlets too? One is a 30 amp and someone might try to charge their car. I don't think I wouldn't do outlets. I wouldn't do outlets. I would do the water thing because the outlet thing is actual use, right? I don't think you'd end up with end up in trouble with that one. The water one concerns me because if left unattended, open leak, burst valve, like that's why that one scares me. And quite frankly, water is a lot more expensive than electricity. You have somebody plugged into an outlet for an entire day, depending on what the draw was, 10, 15 bucks. You have a pipe break and flood your basement, thousands of dollars. You have that thing pop on the or lead get left on outside and just running down the driveway into the drainage. Like it could be thousands of dollars. We had an out of control leak that we got notified by the city within 24 hours. That was a $1,400 water bill, and it was normally a $400 water bill. It cost us $1,000 for one day. It's freaking hell. That hurt. Orange Borch. It's definitely a great course. Cool. Awesome. Great feedback. I'm looking forward to telling you more about how it helps me in my journey. I'm looking forward to hearing that. That's the stuff that really gets me going, because my course, as amazing as it is, it can always get better. And it's only going to get better with your guys' feedback telling me, hey, this is what I'm experiencing when I'm doing this. It might be a little tweak that I can make. John Williams, we made a little bit of a tweak to what he was doing. Boom, rented 24 hours. 4 weeks, wasn't rented. Boom, rented 24 hours. Little tweak. And then we gave him 4 backup plans. Little tweak. So that's the kind of information I really like. That's really helpful to me. I don't know it all. I know a lot, but I don't know it all. And so I'm always looking for different perspective, people looking through their own sets of eyes, and certainly newbies too. You're the most important. The most important part, the most important time to get somebody to tell you how they feel about their company is in the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes. First 15 minutes, that's their first impression. That's how they see how it goes. And when they're on their way out, I want to know how they felt about it, because I want to know why they're leaving. And I want them to be honest with me. Tell me it was horrible. What was horrible? So definitely do that. Hi, Lumberjack Landlord, Bobby Simpson. Hi, Bobby. I inspect my rentals once a year. Yep. And have them repair all the items they're responsible for. Yep. That way, when they do move out, there should be a minimum repairs needed. Legal. Legal. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if it says that in your lease, so here's where the legal, not legal thing comes in. Obviously not being an attorney, obviously not knowing what state you're in. Obviously I can give you a legal opinion, but usually if the lease states it and then they don't comply, then you can, so if it's legal to put that in your lease, you have that in your lease, and then they don't comply, then you can actually evict them for non-compliance of the lease. Right. The other thing too is that, if you also tell them that they need to do it and it's not in the lease and then they fight you on it, you're going to have a tough time getting that done, because they just might say, yeah, we'll repair it before we leave. See what I'm saying? So that's where kind of like both edges of the sword are on that one. Robert Finley, Manchester requires them being on common outlets or you get fined. What being on common outlets? Oh yeah, you have to have common outlets. Yeah, for sure. I don't disagree. I think you leave outlets. I think it's spigots that you get rid of. Spigots are the only thing I get rid of. I have outdoor outlets on all my stuff. Yeah, for sure. Because a lot of times, guess what happens? If we have to repair something and we need to bring equipment, I need an outlet to plug into outside. I don't want to do it inside. They have to clean up a big, huge, massive mess. Justin Stanley. The water in your area sounds crazy expensive. It is ridiculously expensive. Ridiculously. It's ridiculously expensive. Ridiculously. It's so unbelievably bad. We spend probably we spend 6 figures a year on water sewer. 6 figures for sure. Yep. 6 figures, water, sewer. Yep. It's ridiculously expensive. Old infrastructure. And so we're paying for it to be upgraded. But yeah. Yep. Happens all the time. Bobby Simpson. Also, if they pay for the repairs as they go, they usually are more apt to stop being negligent. Negligent seems to work. I love that system, Bobby. Honestly, love it. Yeah, I love it. I think for us, so I have retired folks that rent from me. I have students that rent from me. Wouldn't want either of them touching anything. Not that the retired folks are incompetent, just that I don't want them climbing up on a ladder or climbing up even on a step stool. Ugh. Yeah, we were doing this repair. No. Just call me. So them students, and again, making it work and it being a good job are two different things usually. So yeah, but I do like the strategy. I mean, and again, most importantly, you're dialed in and you found a one that works for you. So people aren't leaving with a bunch of stuff undone that you have to then build their security deposit for. In our area, security deposits are so big. Literally a typical security deposit where we are is $2,500 to $3,000. You can get a lot done for $2,500 to $3,000. And so that's why for us, it's like, yeah, if they've been there 5 years, like little things we just let slide, but the big stuff, yeah, obviously they take care of that. And we like to return their deposits. I walked into an apartment 2 weeks ago. Holy crap. It was awesome. I was like, I have to bring the cleaners because we always say professionally cleaned. So we brought the professional cleaners in there, team of 3, and they were done in 35 minutes. It's $100. It's awesome. Right. But yeah, it was awesome. And so I don't even think I charged them for it now that I think about it. No, I did charge them for it. Yeah. Because it was I thanked them. I was like, I really appreciate this. You guys did a great job. Keith Hager, know where the shutoff is, location from the water department. Yep. I carry a water tee in my truck. That's great advice, Keith. That is great advice. The only challenge that you have with that is in the winter time here, they're always buried with snow. So you have to dig it out and it can be iced over. But absolutely have a tee. If you guys can get a tee based on what the town one looks like, you can get a tee for your street shut off or it's like in your front lawn type of thing. Absolutely do it and know where it's located. We actually have the water. We have the one, that's in the house. We tell the tenants where that is. We say, if you ever have a water emergency, go down there, shut that thing off, and then call me and I'll be there. Toot sweet. Never seen a fat guy run that fast. Wealth building journey on PM fees. Do you set aside property management costs in looking at properties for acquisition, or at this point, do you no longer need to set that aside for include that in cash flow now? That is a great question. Wouldn't expect any less from Chester. So what I take out now is I take everything that we spend in maintenance on the entire portfolio and I dice it based on, so I basically take the entire number and I dice it and divide it by the 137 on the units. That's what I do right now, because that gives me a real number. That's why, and again, I've shared this a few times. That's why I can get deals that are a yield of 20% or a ROC of 20%, return on capital of 20%, is because I'm not making up some 10% number, and now I've got enough cash flow coming in and I still have a $50,000 stack just sitting there waiting for something to happen, but that's a couple roofs. 50 grand is a lot because you've got insurance too, right? So I use the real number, but when I work with my bank, I show them my real number and then I acquiesce and I give them what they count as their number, which I think is 7. I think it's 7% is what they have in their document. So yeah, great question. Hyder, good call, Keith. Yeah, absolutely. Do you pay for the electricity on common outlets? Yes, have to. They're common. But you can have a house that doesn't have a common panel. It's possible. You can have a house that doesn't have a common panel where it's, there's 4 outdoor lights, but 2 of them for downstairs and 2 of them for upstairs. And so they both pay that on their own bill. That does happens pretty often. Matt, curious whether you'd seen the question on what to do with judgment debts. I didn't. Sorry, I missed it. Judgment debts. You can do a couple of things with them. You can call once you've gotten the judgment and they've officially lost and you have it, you can try to work out an agreement with the person that has the judgment against them. You can try and work out a program with them, a payment plan. As soon as they don't pay that payment plan, you can then file non-compliance paperwork with the area, the city or the county, and then they actually can get picked up on a bench warrant. That's what you can do. You can also work with you can call around to collections companies and say, hey, this is the debt. This is what it is. It's $4,000. Here's what their income is. And then they'll say, we'll collect that for 30 cents we'll give you 30 cents on the dollar on that debt. And then you can take the rest of that debt and then basically make it a charge off as an actual loss. So you can do that. Let me know if that answered the question. Landlord Odyssey. Water in New Hampshire is very expensive. That's true. And there's so much water there is so much water on the land here. Yep. If you look at Google Maps, it's filled with ponds and lakes. I think infrastructure is old though. That's the issue. The infrastructure is ancient. That's the problem. Almost all of these towns use something, and there's a significant amount of it out there called Bermico. Bermico is literally, kid you not, no joke. Somebody thought this was a good idea to create connections with. It's paper. Yeah, it's paper with tar on it. And they thought that would be a good idea to use that to connect houses to the stub outs. It was cheap is what it was. And guess what happens? Now, 30, 40, 50 years later, they're all failing. Yep. I've replaced a bunch of Bermico and it's expensive because you have to excavate. Then you have to replace it. And we just go with regular old, drain line PVC, which is the green stuff. But it's expensive. It's expensive to do. Excavate, get in there, pull the permits, it sucks. Seems like Shirley W. Seems like every area has at least one overpriced thing. Yes, it's true. Some areas, property taxes. Yep. Some places, home insurance. Yep. Some is utilities. So for us, it's definitely water and property taxes because we don't have an income tax. We don't have a sales tax. So our property taxes are very high, but that's okay. I like having the state aligned with me paying my property taxes. Missed question from earlier. Sorry about that. How did you come up with your lease, i.e. adding to a template from somewhere, making a new one from scratch, attorney, no attorney help, etc.? Great question. I did my research. I found an attorney. And once I found that attorney, I said I was looking for an attorney that was an attorney that did landlord tenant court, number one. Number two, they also had to own rental units themselves. So that way they know what they're doing. And they're also a landlord. And the third requirement is that they had to use their own lease, because now if he loses with his lease, when we go to court, I got a few things to say. How do we lose with your lease when we went to court? You wrote it. You're an attorney. How could it be bad? So that's what I would do. I would look for an attorney in the area that does landlord tenant. And you find that by looking at the agenda or the docket on every day that there's court, there's a docket and it shows landlord tenant and it will list off attorneys. And then just, go over a few weeks of those dockets, sit in court for a day and listen to some of them. And that's how I found mine. And so I think I've made 2 or 3 small tweaks to it. But when I did that, I called him and I said, hey, I'm adding this to it. And he's like, oh, I'm not really sure I agree with that. And I was like, that's okay. The reason why is because it actually helps me not pay him attorney's fees. He's a great guy, great attorney, but I'm cheap. I want to get out of it as much as I can, paying those fees. Justin Stanley. I lived in an apartment that had one street lamp attached to my meter. Okay. They credit me every month. Yep. Based on the estimated usage of the lamp. Yeah. The only way that you can get around doing that is if one thing happens, and that is same light on same light or equal number of lights on two different meters. That way, no one's got a disadvantage, like the light outside your unit to light your walkway. Regarding common use electrical question. Yes, sir. Yep, I got that one. Good. Wealth building journey. It does, and makes me think about that from the other expenses and losses line item of the income statement. Yep. Are there charge-offs? Are tax deductible? Yep. Yeah, because it's a loss. It's a loss. Yep. Yep. You have the receipts for those damages. You tried to sue. They DQ'd. And so that's now a loss. Yep. What's up, Hyder? Back in San Diego. What's up, Wandering Doc? I think they would be, but curious. Bob Langworthy mentions that during tax planning sessions. Yeah, we've talked about it. Yeah, for sure. Yep, it's a loss. It's a loss. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Having a unit shown today, so I could be here. All-nighter. I did a job where the DIY homeowner installed the cardboard washer on top of the kitchen sink strainer. The paper let water right through. Yeah, of course it did. Silly people. For everyone else, replace Bob Langworthy with your qualified CPA. Yeah, it's true. Bob Langworthy is my CPA/EA. Bob Langworthy, worth his weight in gold. You can call him and you can say, Lumberjack told me to call you. Yep. He is worth his weight in gold. He will set you up the right way to begin with. And then managing it is very, very, very easy. Very easy. He is awesome. Who's Bob Langworthy? Oh, back to building the house. Nice. No, he is he's an EA, an enrolled agent, which has ongoing education every year to keep up to date with the current IRS rules, has CPAs that work for him, and the team that he's assembled is nothing short of spectacular. We have a quarterly call that I pay for, but we have a quarterly call where we strategize, and that way I know going into Q4, when I'm looking at October, November, December, hey, Bob, based on this model, do I need to spend money? Do I need to stop spending money? Do I need to buy certain things? Do I need to stop buying certain things? You guys need to get proactive on that stuff. That is a mistake that I made in my journey. I stuck with the same accountant for 18 years. Mistake. Huge mistake. It cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't do the same mistake I made. I should have looked for somebody elite like Bob 20 years ago. And that's where I learned, quite frankly, to do what I did with the attorneys. Guys that are in landlord tenant, guys that own properties, and guys that are landlords themselves. And that's how I learned that. And that just has been worth its weight in gold, having a lease like that. Do I put my rentals under an LLC? I do not. Nope. Tax planning is critical. Do it ahead of time. Absolutely. Yeah, Bob is spectacular at it. Yep, he is unbelievably. So Kohler Group has the big name out there in the market. I like Kohler Group, but Kohler Group sets up kind of like what Morby has, where it's like LLCs of LLCs of LLCs, and you got 70 LLCs, and it's like those complex tax structures are exactly what the IRS is going after. Yeah, that's exactly what they're going after, those complex tax structures. Mine has to be simple. It is, we have our properties in trust. We have an LLC. Our LLC bills the trust for the services provided. Period. Makes it nice and easy. And with the properties being in trust, if anything ever happened to me, happened to my wife, our kids are taken care of. If something happened to one of the other of us, then the other one's taken care of. It's the cleanest way to do that. So, but well, it's been an awesome time with you guys. Hanging out with you guys today. I'm going to cut this one just a little bit short, only because I got to get ready for my amazing course on my boot camp at 1:30 today. Most tax preparers don't do tax planning, unfortunately. That's very true. Yep. Plain and simple wins. That's true. Oh, Matt, I just thought of another question. Sure. Okay. Andy Borch gets the next to last one. Shirley, does Bob have a website and operate in multiple states? He operates in 42 out of the 50, and it's main bean counters. And you can email him. You can say Lumberjack Landlord sent you. I've always heard one should open a separate account per rental property. Nope, I don't do that. Is there any particular bank or banks you prefer using yourself? I like small local banks. I do. Small local. Because I want relationship. I want them seeing me come in and give them my deposits. Banks are built off of depositors. And if you are seen in there all the time, they're just like, oh yeah, that guy's so nice. I mean, don't be rude, but that guy's so nice. And yeah, he's got these accounts and this account and blah, 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 blah. I do not have one per property. No way. There's companies, there's guys that are set up, but it's usually for people that have real LLCs. And when I say real, it's like partners. So they all have access to the checkbook. They all have access to all of that stuff. For me, it's me and my wife. And so we have one account where we write everything out of and receive all of our rents to. We have a second account, which is all of our security deposits, because you have to keep that separate once you're over 10 buildings or 10 units. I think it's 10 units. You have to have those separate. And then we have a trust account, and the trust account, same thing. Money that gets put into the trust account or money that gets pulled into the trust account from billing the trust. So yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, text planning isn't hard. Just communicate and understand your clients and their goals. That's exactly it. And, again, if you're trying to do a certain thing, have somebody that's doing that certain thing. I've found people that are pretty good at stuff because they got good at something. I've found guys that are elite at stuff because they do the same thing. And he's always going to be paying most attention to businesses and rental properties for one main reason. He's got them himself. It's the best hit there. Yeah, you must have a separate account for deposits. So there's some that don't require that, Keith. But it's when you're a smaller landlord, you always should have. I don't want the funds intermingled. So I do have a separate account, but by law, I want to say it's 10 units. By law, you have to have it separated at that point. Bookkeeping for expenses, one bank account or 50? One. Yeah, one. Yep. Matt, is the bank account structure also part of the course? I believe we talk about banking in the course. There, my banker is going to be on, so she's going to be she's going to do a session with us. But yeah, I think there's definitely stuff in there. I don't have my syllabus in front of me. There's definitely stuff in there about banking, but I can certainly add a section. I can add another one. Not a problem. That's not something I would share on YouTube. That's something I'll only do in the course. Yes. Yep. Yeah. So Wandering Duck, you can have 50 properties. Yep. And one passive syndication. Yep. Yeah. It's a little bit different. Yeah. It's a little bit different. It's the only reason that it's a little bit different, like passive versus, or syndication versus not, is I would want syndications in one. The other thing too is that, hacking of bank accounts and things like that, I want a little bit of a layer of protection. But knowing that I only have to watch one account. So if something starts to leak out of one of the accounts, I'll see it really quick. Keith is right. Most states need separate bank accounts for security deposits. It's true. Yep. Most do, but not all. Not all. New Hampshire is one that doesn't. It's 10. I think it is. Sorry, showing question. We gotta answer that while they're there. Several LLCs under a single trust is a great strategy once you're actually wealthy. It is, but the problem is that, again, that is something that the IRS is going to crack down on. It's just that's the first place they're going to look, because to that end, Wandering Doc, they know that wealthy people do that. So that's what they're going to go after. So props are under a trust instead of LLCs. Yes, it's under a trust. Was wondering if I should make an LLC for prop purchases from now on. No, I don't.
You have to decide that on your own. 47 out of 50 states pierce the veil. 3 states, the LLC is good. If you have partners, yeah, I've seen that's where the LLC stands. But I've seen states pierce. I actually have an attorney that's going to be in the course, and she's going to tell you how she's pierced veils and she's had her veil pierced. Yep. It's true. Yes, sir. Trust owning LLCs is great. Yep. Private trust, that is. Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing is you look at all the options and you pick the one that you think best fits your strategy. So guys, as I always say, we try and create great content for you. I got to get ready for my boot campers. You guys have a fantastic rest of your week. And yeah, look forward to doing boot camp with my boot campers and having my agent there. Should be a lot of fun. So I hope you guys are super awesome and have a great, fantastic week. Take care, everybody. Bye, guys.